Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
I'm Larry.
I am Jesi. I'm Tori.
And I'm Josh. Tori, it's great to have you back after being gone for a few weeks.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to be back.
Though I appreciated that you took the time to come over on Monday to help with our betting.
Yeah, you know me and bets.
Mm-hmm.
She has a gambling pride too. It's not funny. If you have a problem, seek help.
I don't have any issue. I won.
Yes, this is true, right? I think it's money well spent, though.
I won because I believe in Charlie.
I should have believed in Charlie. Either way, I'm super proud of him.
Personally, I feel like Josh was like, don't say anything.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Wait a minute. These two talk when we're not around too, you know.
Commentary Charlie is like,
this is like the hustle.
Yeah, right?
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Shit's 11.
Already then.
Charlie's playing up. Oh, gee, what were you guys talking about? I don't know.
Josh was like,
we're
on
you.
End this conversation. By the way.
I'm like, oh, we're all tripping for pizza.
It's the perfect crime.
People come onto our channel to watch us talk about books, reading, and literature.
Oh, seriously?
No.
Yes, they certainly do.
No.
I thought they just liked listening to our tangents.
Could be that.
Sorry.
I thought this was literary tangent hour.
They like
Right.
Charlie's tangents.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be going over Two
Charlie.
Views of a Cadaver Room by Sylvia Plath.
That's a transition.
Speaking of cadavers, Sylvia Plath.
Go on.
Already then, the discussion starter that we have for this one is the first view of a cadaver room is meant to be a general description, while the second view is a bit more imaginative. Why do you feel that Plath designs the second view the way she does?
She's crazy. I mean, besides that.
That was the only reasoning I got.
I see it as a play of reality and fiction, and it's kind of the duality of life and death, imagination and reality. So you've got those two side by side, and I think that's what I assumed Plath was playing at. Was we've got this very literal dissection of a body, and then of a situation, which I think I read somewhere of a review. It was a gruesome. I'm trying to remember the words of it. A Gothic Valentine carved out and handed to the lover. And then juxtaposed to that is this beautiful description of like a dissection of a love scene. So you have dissection of a man where you're given somebody's literal heart. And then you kind of find the heart in this poetic scene, which I think was stretching a bit to find like a cohesion in there, but I can see where they were coming from with it. I was like, okay, so it's finding the heart and the love, both figuratively and literally in man.
I'm gonna stick with she's crazy.
Yeah.
This was from.
I got a more cynical take, and that's shock value. I think
That's probably a good, especially for the time that it was written. That too.
Yeah, I think she's just looking for any reaction. Just trying to evoke a reaction.
This particular poem is from the Colossus, so even though Sylvia Plath, I agree, is crazy, she is not as crazy as she was when she was in Ariel. Her Ariel poems were toward the end of her life, and they really took on a much more manic theme. But did I have you on? No, you were never on an Ariel.
Oh, so I don't even know her crazy.
What about Tulips? Is that?
I was just about to say, which is Tulips?
Tulips is Ariel.
Okay, that explains things. All right.
But,
which is really funny because I found Tulips to be more cohesive and linear as compared to this poem right now.
But with regard to Tulips was a poem that she wrote right after, or as she was in the institution. So that was the turning point for what we began to see in her Ariel poems.
Interesting, because I found that to be, like I said, like a more linear poem. It made a little more sense because there was one theme, and it felt like it was grounded off of something tangible and actual, while this felt like it was kind of almost this imagined scene that was almost like non-secretorial of, you imagine this painting of like two young lovers, one playing the violin and the other one like being coquettishly close to them, and kind of hanging in an office somewhere in this place where like cadavers are being, exhumed.
In a way, you're right.
And that's that feeling of, you're describing something that I've never seen before, and clearly you've seen it, but you're only giving me half the imagery by being vague and by being, verbose. And that's kind of what it felt like to me.
I agree with the fact that when I was thinking of the first scene, I felt that it was the clinical scene. It was, to me, it felt like it was the hospital or a medical school, the way it was being portrayed and depicted.
Young boys in like white aprons or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The second scene, though, at first I had that idea that it was mythical and imaginative, but then I looked up Bruegel. In Bruegel's panorama of Smoke and Slaughter, Peter Bruegel was a Dutch painter.
Okay, so that was actually based off.
It was based off of a Dutch painting called Triumph of Death, and the theme is people's triumphs during the Black Plague.
Oh, interesting.
And there is a picture on the lower right corner that pretty much describes the dying man with a fiddle and a woman in a blue satin dress, and they are having that intimate moment.
So this is a poem that you need to have knowledge. There's an intimate knowledge piece to it, and if you've never seen that painting, this is just flowery
it helps
words.
immensely.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wow, okay, that's
That
fun.
explains a little
I'll
bit.
leave a link down below
What
to
is
the
she
picture.
talking about?
But when
Yeah,
I
what
was,
she talking about?
I was at
mean,
first
it
I
makes
was.
sense, but
At first, my first impression was these are pretty mythical words, but where's this whole thing with music, everything coming in, and then the last line
I mean, and you have like
broke a little bit of
Yeah, the
fourth
lower
wall.
right-hand corner part is like, what?
Yeah.
Bit of fourth wall breaking. The yet desolation stalled in paint spares the little country.
Oh, that makes so much sense now. It makes so much more sense now. Stalled in paint, so it's forever immortalized in this painting. So it's kind of like the destruction of the body versus the creation from a body of, like death and cadavers being autopsied versus like a human being being able to create. So the painting is referenced as well. Like art is basically creation, and then there's death and destruction and stuff like that. So it's just this really convoluted juxtaposition of like life and death and
Yep, and I think in a way it does tie into Plath's very own life as a aspiring creator, and how the people in these paintings they each have their own creative endeavor, and then intertwine it with herself, where she's trying to seek content with that idea of being a dying individual herself, though in her case it is that constant flirting with the idea of suicide and what are things going to be like on the other side, or post-life. So
there's a lot of background knowledge needed for this poem,
it helps.
and I didn't realize the amount of layers, like how many layers deep it went.
Yeah, when you see that picture and you see the picture in the lower right-hand corner, things start to make so much more
You
sense.
should link that painting.
Yes, I did say that I would.
The picture in the picture, right?
Huh?
It's a picture in the picture.
It's a picture within the picture.
Interesting.
The Triumph of Death is the whole thing, and there's several images that are, there's several things occurring within that picture because it's the Black Plague. It's the way that people are responding to it.
Interesting.
I still find the poem weird.
It is weird.
Actually, it's the Black Death, but
It can
it's
make all the
pretty
sense
much,
you want it to. I still
the
don't
same,
like
right.
it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very, very interesting.
Do we have any final thoughts?
I like My Girl Plath. This one's a weird poem. This one took me several times more than I normally do with like even short poems to sit down and kind of glean any semblance of like I get this portion and I get this portion a little bit, but where is the connection between the two? I should have done a bit more research into this, and I would have found that, and it probably would have been that like aha light bulb moment. But like,
I'm going to break some of my own fourth wall. We were going to do this earlier, and I'm so glad we didn't,
oh seriously?
Why is that?
because you didn't show up to the session.
Oh. No, why are you glad that we didn't?
Oh, because between the time of that session and today, I was able to acquire that information.
Oh, it gave you more time to look
Gave
into it.
me more time,
to
yes.
invest in-
It's just like Crime and Punishment, where we had more time to read the book.
Tori's like, we don't say
That is a naughty title, and we don't mention it out loud.
I saw that, and I'm like, oh no, not in a mom voice.
Turn this way and say that.
Starting to say, we don't read that book, and we don't mention that book here.
It's a great book.
I like it.
Alrighty then. If you're interested in checking out 2 views of the Cadaver Room and more of Sylvia Plath's poetry, this is the Colossus, which is poems by Sylvia Plath. I got this edition from the Book Garden. And I have I also have Ariel, which I tend to like to show them together because I bought them together.
And you can find this poem by itself online. There are several different
Yeah.
sources where you can find it and read it there.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's, a lot of Plath's poetry can be found in that nature. There's a complete collection. I have yet to get my hands on it. I've been holding off on it, but the people that watch our videos like our Sylvia Plath discussions.
You guys are weird.
I was
Thanks,
gonna
Mom.
say, I keep reading it, and I keep
Wait,
hoping to find something by her that I will like, but I just haven't gotten there yet. I don't know,
she's a fun one.
Just to
She's
show you how long
just-
I've been doing this show, when I first started doing the show and talking about Sylvia Plath's poetry, the people on the panel were hailing her as a champion. Now, the people that I'm on the panel with are hailing her the way that I perceive her as being self-pitying mad woman.
I'm not saying she's not good, I'm just saying she ain't my favorite.
I prefer Anne Sexton and Elizabeth Bishop myself. Be sure to join us next time on another episode of Gladiators. For now, keep reading.